Okay, so welcome everyone. I know we have some new faces on tonight. My name is Brittany Hayes. I'm your Ambassador Diamond Upline, and we've got one of your Presidential Diamond leaders, Jordan Splinter, on tonight, one of your Triple Diamond leaders, Amanda Stein. Amanda and Jordan have been with me out of everyone almost the longest. I think there's a couple that signed. No, I think actually Amanda is the oldest, and then there's a couple maybe in between Amanda and Jordan, but they're veterans on the team. They have worked absolutely just so hard and served our team just so faithfully and so selflessly, and they have so much wisdom to offer about a lot of things, but specifically about the subject that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about boundaries in both life and in business, to have the best business you can have, to have the most fulfillment in your life that you can have, to have just to be the person that you're created to be the best leader that you can be. And this is something that all three of us feel very passionate about. I think we all have different things to offer and different things we can bring to the table to you guys tonight about this subject. And so I'm super excited for you guys to take, to hear you guys' biggest takeaways. I know that Amanda and Jordan both have so many unique perspectives to share tonight. But one thing that we just, one reason we really wanted to bring this to the table is there is so much happening right now in all of you guys' businesses and our team as a whole, so many good things. But in order for us to be good stewards of the good things, and for us to continue, forward momentum, and for us to, be the leader that we ultimately are capable of being, that God has equipped us to be, that He's called us to be, we have to make sure we have good boundaries in place in both life and in business. It's, really easy when you start your business and you start doing, all the things, for you to feel overwhelmed for a reason that could be chalked back up to unhealthy boundaries or a lack of boundaries altogether. And one thing, that I have had to learn throughout my time in the business is that I am the type of personality that will just do all the things. And so I've got to make sure that I'm doing things in order. I've got to make sure that I'm doing things that, in a healthy way, and that I have those healthy boundaries. So I'm making sure I'm taking care of myself, and I'm still, being the most productive that I can be. Whether, some of you, the things you hear tonight, you might relate more to issues, boundaries, issues you need to get better at in business. Some of you might hear some boundaries in marriage tips, or boundaries in just relationships in general. And whatever you take away, what I hope is that there's something that you take away that you feel empowered to implement, and just to go forward stronger, and go forward, being the best version of you. I'm going to share a little bit of things before I pass it over to Jordan and Amanda, but one thing I wanted to share with you guys, especially for anyone that's newer and just hasn't heard this part of my story, but when I got started, I had a lot of negative people in my family about the business. And a lot of you guys, you're already relating to this, because this maybe is what you're dealing with right now, or you have dealt with this, in the past. Some of you can't relate at all. You have an amazingly positive family. Every single member of your family signed up to be your customer when you got started. Maybe you even have family on your team right now, and that's amazing. But that wasn't my story. When I got started, my family was pretty negative. My sister signed up to be my customer right away, and she's always been super sweet and supportive, my little sister. But a lot of my family was some people that have kind of always been negative in my family since I was a little girl, that kind of just, everyone drop a 1 in the comments if you have one person in your family, maybe more, but at least one person in your family who just kind of picks on people. Like, they just are kind of like always nitpicking people. They're kind of always like making you the butt of the joke, and it's really not funny, but they think it's hilarious. Like, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So I had several people in my family that were like that. And this was nothing new. They'd been like this since I was little. I shouldn't have been surprised. But nonetheless, when I started my business, that became like the butt of the joke when I was around them. And it started just, getting increasingly more intense as time went on. And kind of the breaking point was when I went Ruby. It was October of 2016. It took me 4 months to go Ruby, which when I joined, if you don't know this part of my story, a lot of people went Ruby really, really fast. I joined Claire in June of 2016, and that was a big enrollment month for her. I think she signed like 40 distributors that month. And a lot of people she signed that month went Ruby in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They're Ruby by the end of the month. And it took me 4 months to go Ruby. So comparatively, and remember, we don't compare ourselves, but if you were going to compare me to everyone else in the group, I had a little bit of a slow start. And so I finally went Ruby. I went executive in September. I went Ruby in October, 4 months. I was so excited. Like, drop a 2 in the comments if you have hit any rank that you feel like you fought really hard for. and you're like, oh my gosh, hallelujah, like this feels so amazing. And it just gives you that little bit of hope, like you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do more. Like if I got this far, I can do more. That was me when I went Ruby. And I was so happy. I felt like on top of the world. Zach was so proud of me. My kids were proud. We were like just on cloud nine in my house. And we saw hope for the first time in a really long time. We're like, if we went Ruby, we could go Diamond. And meanwhile, this was like some people in my family's opportune moment to really tear me down on another level. I got a slew of hateful text messages at like 11 o'clock that night, making fun of me, telling me I was an embarrassment to the family, saying awful things. Like one day Zach would resent me for doing something so dumb. Just like you name it, there was like some F-bombs dropped in there. Like you think of one of the meanest things someone could say to you when you're on cloud nine. That was some of the texts I got that night. And I was so sad. Like I sat there and I remember thinking, if you guys know me well, you know I would never be mean like that to anybody. I think most of you guys know that, but if you're new, I just want to say for the record, I'm someone that no matter what my emotions are, I would never treat someone like that. And so that makes it worse. Like drop a 3 in the comments if you're like me, you'd never say that to someone. And so you know like how like shocking that must be, even if it hasn't happened to you, where you're like, whoa, like why would you say this to me? And that's how I felt in that moment. I'm like, I would never say that to even my worst enemy. My worst enemy, I just would walk away from. And like, I'm your family. Like, why are you sending me these text messages? And so I was sat there and I just was in shock. I read it to Zach and my voice just kind of quivered. I didn't cry, I just was like reading it to him, voice quivering. I literally couldn't believe it. And Zach's, Zach is very emotional in like an anger way. Like if someone offends me, he like his blue comes out and like what he would probably consider to be the best of ways, and he was furious. He's like ready to fight. And I'm like, no, it's fine, like don't even say anything, it's fine. And I got up and I went in the shower, and when I got in the shower I just started crying, and he came in and he said something to me I'll never forget. He said, why do you even care what she thinks? He said, she's been mean to you since I met you. You told me she's been mean to you since you were little. What value does she actually bring to your life? And I sat there and I thought, and I really couldn't think of any value. I really couldn't. I'm like, well, I mean, I've always kind of considered her like a big sister. This was one of my cousins, by the way. I was like, I've always considered her like a big sister. Like we've been close since I was little. He's like, no, you've told me some really mean things she said. He's like, I've heard some really mean things that she has said before. Prior to this, he's like, what value does she actually bring? How does she actually make your life better? And I sat there and it was like such a light bulb moment for me. I'm like, I really don't know. I guess I really couldn't tell you. And then he's like, so why do you care? He's like, he probably said a lot of things that I'm not going to repeat on the Zoom, but he's like, why do you care? Like, you got to like, just let her go. And in that moment, I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like I have so many people in ItWorks who are uplifting me, who are encouraging me. Claire texted me at that point in my business all the time. We talked, weekly via text message and a lot of times on the phone. And I remember thinking like in that moment, I'm like, I've got all these people who are nice to me in the business, people who would never treat me badly, that are there for anything that I need. I don't need someone to talk to me that way. I don't have to put up with that. And in that moment, I texted my cousin when I got out of the shower and I said, I'm so sorry that you feel this way. I don't know what I did to bring these feelings out in you, but whatever I did, I'm sorry. I'm really happy with what God is doing in my life in this business. And I believe that the best is yet to come for me and my family. And I hate that you can't see it. And I'm sorry for that. I was like, I hope you have a great night. And that just pissed her off more. She just went off even more. And I didn't answer a single other text message. She continued to text till probably 1 a.m, probably some alcohol involved. And I didn't answer a single text message. At that moment, I felt at peace. I talked to Claire the next day on the phone and she was like, Brittany, that has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with her. That is her issue. That's not a you issue. Like she's intimidated by seeing what you're doing in your life. And that's making her insecure. You can't let that bother you. And I was like, thank you for that validation and that confirmation. I decided that last night too. And in that moment, the reason I'm telling you this kind of long story, I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit long-winded, but the reason I'm telling you this is in that moment, it was a truly defining moment for me, I believe. I believe that I had a choice to make. I believe that God was telling me, you've been posting that you're going to live for an audience of 1. Are you really? Do you truly not care what anybody thinks, or do you? Because you've been preaching this on social media and now here's your test moment. Do you actually not care what anybody thinks? Are you still going to follow me even when people are mocking you? Even when someone hurt your feelings, are you still going to go forward? And in that moment, it was so clear to me what I had to do. I had to put my money where my mouth was. I had been saying this, I'd been posting this. Now it was time to do the hard thing and actually live it out. And I truly believe, you guys, I would not be here today if I wouldn't have made the right choice in that moment. I don't think I'd be the leader to you guys that I am. I don't think I'd be as strong of a woman as I am today. I don't think my faith would be as strong. I could go on and tell you how that decision truly did impact so much going forward for me. And I'm telling you that because if you haven't experienced something like that in your business, you likely will. It's probably not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it might not be in the same way I did. It could be just some random person being, rude on social media. It might be a negative spouse. I'm just going to say it. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It might be a parent. It might be a best friend that you've been so close with since high school that's rude to you. It could be a lot of people. It could be a coworker. But when the moment comes, are you going to hold firm to your conviction that God brought you to this business? Are you going to let that person decide your future, or are you going to bless and release? I didn't say a single rude thing to my cousin that night, but I did put some loving distance there. And we're going to talk about that tonight, because part of being above reproach, I saw Jordan put this in the comment, staying above reproach. Part of being above reproach is even if it hurts you, you don't retaliate with hurt. Amanda Stein said something that I've never forgotten. I said to her on the phone, someone was being rude to her actually, and she may talk about this, she may not, but I said, well, hurt people hurt people. And she said, no, hurt people don't hurt people. People who behave badly hurt people. And I remember thinking like, wow, that's really good and really true. And I never thought about it like that. She's like, no, there's a lot of really good people who are hurt and don't hurt people. And I'm like, you're right. I stand corrected. And I've never thought about that the same ever since she said that. I truly believe what she said. People who behave badly hurt people. So you can't just sit there and explain away everyone's hurt. Like, oh, well, they were just hurt, so they hurt me. No, it's a choice. We all have a choice of how we are going to act when we're hurt. And if someone hurts you, I hope going forward, you don't choose to hurt them back. I hope that going forward, you choose to be above reproach. You choose to be able to bless and release. You choose to say something kind that ends the conversation. You don't have to let anybody treat you badly. And you don't have to respond by hurting them to end the conversation. You can respond very strong. You can be a very strong woman who's classy, who's graceful. And I know we have some men on the Zoom too. I'm speaking mostly to the women because I feel like women are probably more likely for someone to come at them like this. Obviously, if you're a man on here, I think that you can absolutely uphold yourself with that same level of strength and dignity. But I want to speak to the women for a second. Like, you can choose to be strong and still be classy. You can choose to stand your ground and not let people treat you badly, but not meet them where they're at in that level of energy. One thing that someone said to me a couple weeks ago that I was talking to about just like energy and like how people are, essentially we were talking about how people will only treat you the way you tolerate it. And she said, you've got to, like, the ultimate goal in life is that you need to always be at a point where your energy is so high, like low levels of energy can't come near you because they know it's not welcome. And that takes work. That takes doing self-development. That takes getting some rock solid boundaries, which we're going to talk about tonight, for that to happen. But I promise you, if you don't allow people to treat you that way, people will stop treating you that way. Family, spouse, siblings, friends, coworkers, they will stop treating you that way if they know you're not going to allow it anymore too. So on that note, I could ramble on and on clearly, you guys, but on that note, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jordan and then to Amanda. Both Jordan and Amanda have a lot of wisdom to share on this issue, and they have, stories they could share with you personally, or just, tips that they can offer you. But both of them have so much to offer in this issue. And so, Jordan, if you want to go first and unmute yourself, what are just some issues, like whether it's like piggybacking on something that I shared or just something completely different that you've learned, whether it's in life in general or in the business, about boundaries?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely had a super supportive family, but I did have a friend that was not very supportive when I got started in this business. And at the time, just to kind of give you guys some backstory, I promise I won't give like a long story for every single one, but at the time that I joined the business was a really, really, really rough time in my life. We had basically just restarted our whole life. We moved somewhere totally new. We had to make all new friends. We had to just literally rebuild our life, rebuild our marriage, all the things. And this particular friend was like my very best friend that I met after we moved, and she just helped me through so much of life. She helped me grow and just kind of really come through a really, really tough season in my life. And when I joined the business, I thought she would be super supportive and super excited for me. And I had all these people, my family was excited and other people were excited for me. Josh was excited for me. He had no clue what it was, but he's like, yeah, babe, go for it. I love you, so go for it. But she never said anything. And that kind of stood out to me more than anything else, that the person that I considered my very best friend was so silent. And I vividly remember having conversations with Brittany when I first got started, and she shared the story that she just shared with you guys about how she had people not very supportive, but Brittany really helped walk me through what was actually happening and how to move forward from that situation. And I agree with what Brittany said. I think that was a pivotal moment for me in my business, because I could have chosen to let that one friendship completely derail me from being successful in my business, or I had the choice to listen to somebody who had already been ahead of me, who had already walked through it and come out on the other side of it even better, and let her guide me through it. And thankfully, that's what I did, because we would never be where we are today in our business. But just through over time, she would just kind of throw down these. It was never direct. It was very, very indirect. But she would throw down these little just tidbits of just mean comments, like, "Oh, I would never do something like that. Oh, blah, blah, blah." Like little things that really, I'm a very yellow personality. So things like that, I take them to heart, and they fester and they grow. And I'm like, what did she mean by that? Like, why would she say that? Why would she say something so mean like that? And over time, I had to learn to really put some separation between me and this, who I thought was a very best friend of mine. And fast forward, we, let's see, how many years in our business? 2 years in our business that we moved back east. We moved back to the East Coast, and moved back closer to family and all those things. And we were sad to leave our friends, but I feel like God had been working all along, like putting some distance between us. And we didn't really know why. I'm like, why isn't she supportive? Why are all these things? Like, what is the purpose of this? And very, very distinctly, we were in our house that we live in now. And God just told me, I heard it like as clear as day, you guys. He was like, you wouldn't be where you are now had you stayed there with them. And that just like stopped me in my tracks, because probably 2.5 years of my business of wondering why couldn't she be supportive of me? Like, why couldn't this friendship still move strong and forward and all these things? And he just showed me, like, if you had stayed there, and if you had stayed, not that everybody needs to move if you don't have supportive friends, like this is totally different from that, but he was like, if you had stayed there and listened to somebody who was very unhappy in herself, like she's kind of a negative person anyway, somebody who's very unhappy and miserable with their own life, she would have just continued rubbing off on you. You never would have gotten to where you are. You wouldn't have been closer to family. You wouldn't be where you are in your business. You wouldn't have retired your husband, like all the things, you guys. So I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in there. If it's not somebody who's family, but somebody, maybe it's a friend and you don't really know how to handle that situation. I wasn't mean to her or anything like that. To this day, I still, when I see her things pop up on Instagram or Facebook, even though she doesn't put a like or comment on anything of mine, I'm like, oh, your babies are growing so big. Oh, I hope you guys are good. Or I like leave her some love or something like that, because like we were saying, being above reproach, like I'm not going to stoop down to her level just because she is, in an unhappy place. Hopefully I can continue to grow and just be a light in her life and help her, move forward through that. So I just wanted to share that story. Amanda, if you have anything you want to add.
Hey guys, I'm loving all these stories, and it's not the first time that I've heard either of these stories from you guys, but I love hearing them so much because I think it's something that probably almost every single one of us can relate to in the business, or if you can't relate to it in the business, it's something that we can probably relate to in other areas of our life, and probably something where you will be able to relate to it in the business. And I think that boundaries is something that I feel very passionately about in general. I actually asked Brittany if we could do the boundary Zoom because I feel like it's something that affects our business so much. I think that it's something that goes through, I don't know, I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit, but I really think that if we can set boundaries in place in all areas of our life, we will end up being happier, we'll end up being healthier, like mentally, physically, like we'll end up being more productive, more effective, like better rested, like just more healthier human beings. Like, So I just want to talk a little bit about like why I feel so passionate about them in general, and just I want to share. So one of my very favorite books, it's my second favorite book that I've ever read in my whole life, is Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. It's an older book, and there's actually a lot of different versions of it. There's like the original Boundaries, and then they've got like a Boundaries workbook. There's like the whole, like there's a program that you can buy for it. There's Boundaries with Kids, Boundaries for Leaders, Boundaries in Dating, Boundaries in Marriage. And then also like, just like as a quick little tidbit, I don't get any profit from this, but I love Henry Cloud. So like, if you want to check out his stuff, like there's one book that a lot of people talk about, a lot of his, it's called Necessary Endings, but he's got a lot of other really good things. He's got something called Never Go Back, which is like 10 things I'll never do again. That one is so powerful. And then he's got something, oh my gosh, I wrote it down. How to Have Difficult, Changes That Heal. Some of these books, like I read at a really hard time in my life, like after my dad passed away, and just a lot of things were going on in my life. And I truly believe like have shaped me into the person that I am today, and helped me move through a lot of really difficult things that were going on in my life, not necessarily because of my dad, but I feel like if I wouldn't have read these books at the time that I did, I could have made a lot of really bad decisions that would have taken me a very different way. So Changes That Heal, 9 Things a Leader Must Do. That's another one that is different, but Never Go Back, Necessary Endings, How to Have That Difficult Conversation. That one's really good. So Law of Happiness, that's fantastic. Basically anything by Cloud. Townsend is really good too. He was the co-author of the Boundaries book. Boundaries with Kids is really good. So, but I just want to talk a little bit about boundaries in general. Because I think it's really important as a concept to understand. So basically the whole thing of boundaries is like, if you didn't put a boundary in place for someone to respect and they cross a line with you, that fault ultimately lies with you. So for example, like let's say that Brittany does something that's like not nice to me, for example. Like I'm just gonna throw Brittany into the bus. I don't know like what she did, but like let's say that Brittany does something that's like everyone's gonna agree that like she did something that like wasn't cool. But if I didn't ever specifically tell her that like this is what I expect from her, you know, this is, you know, whatever, like within our relationship, like that wasn't clearly communicated, then the fault also lies with me. So within any relationship that you have, whether it be working, whether it be a friendship, whether it be, you know, a marriage, whatever kind of relationship that you've got with somebody, like on your team, as a friend, whatever it is, like it's so important to like, first of all, like recognize the rights that you personally have within that relationship. Decide what it is that your wants and needs are. Communicate those expectations to the other person clearly. You have to communicate them, and then like to enforce those boundaries. So like basically, and Brittany talks about this all the time too, like we teach people how to treat us, how they're allowed to treat us. So the responsibility lies with us to basically say what the boundaries are, and the responsibility lies with us to enforce those boundaries. So that's going to be like in our marriage, you know, as women, as moms, as human beings, like the responsibility lies with us to negotiate that with our spouses in a way, you know, and I mean, we're Christian women, so I'm not saying like we should do this in a way that's not biblical, but I'm just saying like, this is something that's important to discuss with our husbands, and just to understand like what we, as, you know, as women and as a spousal relationship, like what you decide. But within the context of our team, I just want to talk about that a little bit, like what I think about it. So I think like within a team, like how we can talk about boundaries and like how you can use this on your team as a leader or as a team member, basically is just as respect. A lot of what boundaries communicates through is basically respect for the other person. So when you know what somebody's boundary is, when you know what somebody needs, what somebody wants, what's important to somebody, you know, what somebody's preferences are, what their boundaries are, then you respect that boundary. You know what their expectation is. So basically, like, if you know what's expected of you and you signed up and someone has really clearly told you, like, here's this video to watch, like this is your first step to do, yada, 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 and then come back to me with your questions. Like, it's really important for you to do that, because that means that we can help you succeed. So that's an expectation that has been given to our new DTs. Here's your video, you got to go watch it so that I can help you. So basically, it's, yeah, I see Ashley saying in the chat, and it's not like, it's basically, it's for the success of both parties too. Like, that's the important thing. So it's not necessarily for my success, and it's not necessarily for my personal happiness. It's for both of us. It's for our relationship to succeed and to be effective as your leader, or even like in a parenting relationship, as your parent, this is for both of our mutual good. Like, as your leader, I'm giving you this video because I know that it's important for you to watch it. I know that this is going to help you be the very most successful that you possibly can. Here, go watch it. Come back to me with your video or with your questions. So like, it communicates into a respect thing to make sure that you watch that and then come back with the questions. And then like, another thing for boundaries is like making sure questions in the chat are appropriate. And that's another thing, like on our team that we do, is like, we have like some policies that we try to enforce, and just make sure that we as leaders communicate, what are the chats for? You know, what do we use this for? Where do we ask certain questions? Making sure that we have systems in place for you guys to succeed, making sure that we give space for everyone to give feedback for what your needs are. For, you know, we always want to have room for improvement. So we want to know if there's something that you need, but at the same time, when we know we have systems in place, we like to try to remind you guys, hey, this is for this. Hey, this is for this. So if there is a question asked that's, you know, doesn't belong in a certain place, we always try to remind people, this is not what this is for. Here's a good place to go look for that, or whatever. So that's kind of where we enforce boundaries in the team. And again, it's not for any one person's particular good. It's for our collective good. And that's why we are number 17 today. And that's how things work. Like, that's how we can be effective as a collective. And another thing for you guys, okay, so for every single one of you, whether you joined today, whether you're a diamond, whether you joined 3 years ago, one thing that I can highly recommend for you is basically, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So whenever you're thinking about building your empire, whenever you make your goal, if the numbers came out today and you decided that you want to be in the top 100 when numbers come out next time, that's amazing. You need to figure out what it is that you want, decide what your goal is, figure it out, and then decide what you need to communicate those expectations to your team. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, exactly like it is with your kids. If you don't tell your kids what you want them to do crystal clear and put systems in place for them to help them succeed, we can't be upset with them for not doing it. So basically, like, we need to make sure that we make it super, super simple for our teams to know what to do and do the very best that we can as a leader. Even if you just signed up today, there's a leader within you. So if you start showing up today as that leader, then that's what you're going to become. So don't think of yourself as a newbie. If you joined yesterday, think of yourself as the leader that you want to be, and think of yourself as earning the paycheck that you already want, and that's where you're going to go. So basically, like, think of like the expectations that you want. If you expect your team to do a certain thing, then just let them know that. And then that's what they're going to do. Basically, like, if you tell just a good example, like, if you want your kid to go put his shoes on and go to the bathroom and get in the car, like, you need to make sure that they stop and slow down and look at your face, look in your eyes, and clearly tell them that. If you yell at them from across the house, well, I don't know how your kid is, but I have a 3-year-old who's not going to listen to me. So, like, I'm going to go over, I'm going to get in his face, I'm going to grab his hands, and I'm going to make him look at my eyes, and I'm going to tell him what I want him to do, and then I'm going to walk away. And then he better do it. And I know that he's going to do it if he looks at my face. But you know what I mean? There's a certain way that we have to communicate that, and then you set yourself up for success in that way. So I think it's just like that, making sure that you're communicating your expectations on the forefront sets you up for success in the end. And it's just like that with boundaries in your business, and also in your marriage. I hope that this is helpful for you guys. I hope we're tracking. And I basically for that is just like policies. So like if we're signing up for a chat, basically, one thing that I think is really cool about our team that isn't necessarily present in other teams is we don't have drama on our team the way that a lot of teams do. And you might not really realize this because we are really blessed on our team not to have this, but we don't have drama, we don't have negativity. And I really believe it's because Brittany every single month thinks about it on the forefront, ounce of prevention, pound of cure, and says it every single month. We don't allow negativity in the chat. She says it really clearly. And because she does that in the beginning, y'all will get booted out if you, you know what I mean? Because we're not kidding when she says that. Luckily, we don't ever have that issue. Like we're blessed with the best team in the entire company, so we don't have that issue. But it's because we clearly communicate the expectations of that boundary beforehand, that we don't have to go back later and say, oh wait, we actually didn't want you to create chaos in the chat. Later. But we've seen in some leader chats, people say, oh, this just happened. And we're like, oh, we don't ever have that happen, because every single month we clearly say, this will not be tolerated. We have a zero tolerance policy whatsoever. Like, you will get yourself removed immediately. Not happening. So that's one thing that I want to say. And another thing that I want to tell you guys, just like, sorry, I'm going a little bit long, like for yourself, is set yourself up working hours. If you need to do that, it depends on your schedule, your preferences. But for myself, like I don't take coaching calls when I'm having family time. So if somebody requests like a coaching call on the weekends, or my husband works like long hours sometimes, if it's a weekend or if it's an evening when I'm going to have family time with my husband, I don't have to think about it for a long time. My answer is, I'm really sorry, no. It's not going to happen. Or like running with the runners. So this is another thing too. Like you have to be really intentional about where your time is going. And it's not like you're not giving time to other people on your team, but if somebody doesn't take the time to show up for team calls, if somebody doesn't take the time to keep up with their part of the bargain, basically like the boundary that I have set in place is like, I expect, and this has been clearly communicated multiple times throughout, their time in the company, whether they've read that or not is not up to me. I'm not responsible for their choices, but this is the expectation that is communicated. So running with the runners, and that's where my time goes. So that's something that I could recommend for you guys too, because as leaders, you have a limited amount of time. Time is not a renewable resource. So you have to like delegate your time accordingly, exactly like Crystal just said. You have to delegate your time accordingly and protect that time, basically. So if you want to do that through Zooms or whatever, you have to set that boundary in place. And if you come up with a system to do that, like there's where the gold is. Because then you have a policy. I heard somebody one time say, like, if you could come up with a system and then basically blame it on the policy, no one can get mad at you, because you can just basically say like, it's my personal policy. And then everyone just has to deal with it, because that's just how it's going to be. Yeah, that's the one thing that I wanted to say. I think I have almost everything that I wanted to cover. There was one other thing that I wanted to cover, but now I can't remember. That's basically all that I wanted to cover, I think. Yeah, the last thing that I really wanted to say is just basically like in any relationship that you're in, I think it's truly our responsibility to advocate for ourselves. I think that it's really unfortunate when we are placed in a position where somebody doesn't respect us in a way that they should. And I feel for people who are placed in that position. I'm really thankful for my husband. I'm really thankful for the relationships that I have in my life, for my family. I've been really blessed in that way, but I will also say that I have removed people from my life when I read this book. And I've also dramatically changed boundaries, the boundaries book. I've dramatically changed relationships that I didn't speak to for almost a year, because I started enforcing boundaries and they didn't like it. And I just decided that this is going to be the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, then I can't falter on that, because I can't function any other way. So what I just want to say is like, I really feel for people who are in relationships where their needs and wants aren't being prioritized and cared for, but I want to tell you that you're the only person who can make a change for that. Nobody else is ever going to stand up for you. As much as I would like to come through your computer right now and do that for you, and a lot of you who know me know that I would personally want to come fight that fight for you. It makes me like, I'm like Zach, I'm like the one who gets mad for Brittany, like, or for a lot of you actually, like I get mad. I would love to fight that fight for you, but I can't be the one to do that. And it's just a matter of time. How many times are you going to let somebody treat you in a way that you don't deserve? And how many times are you going to tell yourself, hurt people, hurt people? That's not true. It's a lie that we tell ourselves, like, I've been hurt. I don't treat people like that. I've been hurt by people. I've been hurt by situations that people don't have control over. And I can still make the decision to choose how I get to behave. So I think, and I'm not Jesus. I'm not perfect, but I think that we get to choose how we allow people to treat us, and we get to choose how we teach other people to treat us and the boundaries that we put into our life. And I think that when we start realizing that and we start drawing lines in the sand, it's really hard, guys. People don't like it because it's uncomfortable. People will get mad at you. I just want to tell you that right now. It's not easy to enforce boundaries, but it is the best decision I have ever made in my entire life. It has changed my whole life. I am so much happier now. The people who are in my life treat me better. I go to sleep easier at night. I don't cry myself to sleep. I mean, this sounds like really dramatic, guys, but I'm just telling you, like, I was in a very hard place, like in 2008, 2009. My life is so much different now. And I mean, for a lot of different reasons, but I'm just telling you, like, the type of relationships that I had then and the type of relationships that I have now, like, I don't have people who talk to me like that now. I don't have people who treat me like that now. And I will never have people who treat me like that ever again, because if someone treats me like that, it's not even a thought in my head. Like, I'm not going to have a relationship with you of any kind. It's just not something that I allow myself. I don't, because I know, like, I'm a daughter of the King. Like, I don't treat people like that. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't be kind to that person, but I also am not going to stand there and let someone beat me over the head. You know what I'm saying? We don't, I've learned my value, like Jordan says. Like, I don't ignore people who are in my family who necessarily say certain things. I'll still be kind to them if I see them, but I think that your worth is higher than that. And if you're in a relationship that you're allowing yourself to be treated in a certain way, like, you should really think about why you're allowing yourself to be treated in a certain way. Do you believe that you're not worth more than that? I'm here to tell you that you are. So sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I hope everybody goes and reads Cloud and Townsend, Boundaries.
That was so good, Amanda. I don't know if you were paying attention to the chat the whole way through, but everyone was just soaking up what you're saying. I'm pretty sure most people are going to read this book if they haven't. And I typed all the other ones in there too, you guys. So Necessary Endings is another great one. Read Boundaries first, but then Never Go Back is incredible, and Necessary Endings is incredible. I read Never Go Back earlier this year, and I read Necessary Endings last year, and I got so much out of both. I think Amanda and I probably read Boundaries around the same time frame. I read mine in college when Amanda read hers, but that book I absolutely cannot speak highly enough. You guys already know Amanda's take on it. She gives this strong endorsement, and you don't get a strong endorsement like that from Amanda easily. So just know, like, it's a great book. She's going on and on about it like that. So seriously, read that, especially, like, whether this resonated with you as strongly as other people or not, get the book. I promise you'll take something away from it. A couple things I wanted to share to just kind of tack on to what Amanda was saying is that every single one of you guys deserves to feel loved, valued, and respected. Go ahead and drop a 4 in the comments if that's what you want. You want to be loved, valued, and respected in your most important relationships. You want to be loved, valued, and respected by your spouse if you're married, or your significant other. If you're single, you want to be loved, valued, and respected by your future spouse. You want to be loved, valued, and respected by your friends. by your coworkers, by your team, by your upline, by your downline. Like, you want to be loved, valued, and respected by everyone. You want your mom to love, value, and respect you. You want your sister. Like, that is something everyone desires. If you say you don't, I don't know what to say to you. We all want to be loved, valued, and respected. The next thing I want to say, though, like along those lines, is that you deserve to be loved and valued and respected. Amanda just shared something that I write in my affirmations every day. It's the last thing I write, and that is that I am a daughter of the one true King. If you believe that you're a daughter or a son of Christ, then you know that you deserve that. That is how he sees you, as his most precious child. You do not deserve for anyone to treat you less than. You do not deserve for anyone to not love you, value you, or respect you. But here's the deal. You teach people how to treat you, and you can choose to keep those unhealthy relationships in your life. If you have a relationship in your life that is important enough to you to keep it, like, AK, like, I'm just going to go down one little thing. Like, let's say your spouse is not being very nice to you in one way or another, the business, other ways. Obviously, we're not telling you keep your spouse to the curb, but you got to go to them and say, hey, I don't like how you're making me feel. Like, I deserve to feel loved, valued, and respected just like you do. And you've got to have those hard conversations. When Amanda said she'd come through the computer and fight for you if she could, but she can't, what she meant by that, or I'm going to go with my interpretation of it, is like, this is a fight each and every one of us has to fight on our own. This is the fight that each and every one of us has to take on our own, because it's our job to make sure that we're being treated the way that we're supposed to be treated. Like, no one's going to follow us around in every relationship in our life and make sure someone's treating us well. Like, we have to do that for ourselves. And so what I want to leave you guys with is a couple things. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. So if you're upset that your husband's negative about the business, ask yourself, am I laying some clear boundaries? Am I sitting down and being clear about how much I feel called to this business? That I watched someone for 6 months and I felt like God was putting this in front of me, the solution is my family. Have I been clear enough how important it is to me? Have I been clear enough that, hey, I wouldn't stomp all over your dreams, but please don't stomp all over mine? Like, you got to have the hard conversations. Maybe your husband is so supportive, like Zach was, like Josh was, like Louie was, but it's your mom, or it's your best friend, like Jordan said. Maybe it's someone else. If it's important enough for you to keep that relationship, then it should be important enough to you to have the hard conversation. If it is Becky from high school who you never talked to, I don't think it's really worth having a conversation. I think sometimes you just gotta like block things out. But if it is someone that you want to keep a relationship with, that it's important to you to maintain a healthy relationship with that person, I just want you to know it's not healthy how you're being treated right now. So if you want to keep that relationship, make it healthy, have the uncomfortable conversations and push through so you can get to a better side to where you just like, you'll be treated the way that you deserve to be treated, but no one's going to just automatically just start treating you better. Like, you've got to have those tough conversations and lay those boundaries. Another thing that I wanted to just to share is that, you know, we were created to create. Our Creator created us to go out and create. He created us in his image. And he created us. We were his best creation at the end of everything else that he had created. And we're like, that's inside of every single one of us, whether you realize it or not, is you want to go forward and create. And so you deserve to be able to do that freely. And if you have someone that is always coming after you when you're trying to do good, like, you've got to like realize, like, if I'm going to freely be who and like step into who I was created to be, and I'm going to freely be the best woman or the best man that I was meant to be, like, I have to fix these things. And so I don't want to beat a dead horse. Amanda shared so many great things. Jordan shared so many great things. But I just want to leave you guys with this, because nothing drives me crazier than when someone knows what to do and won't do it. And so if you're on this Zoom right now or you're watching the replay, you now know what you need to do. So just go do it. No matter how hard it feels, no matter how uncomfortable it feels, like, you will never be who you were created to be if you don't set those clear boundaries. If you have someone close in your life who's not treating you well, like, that's going to always be a hindrance until you make it right. And so have those uncomfortable conversations, be clear about what you want, even if it's little things. Like, I have a morning routine, you guys, and I'm very particular about my morning routine. I won't make early morning appointments. I don't talk on the phone first thing in the morning. I don't answer messages first thing in the morning. Pretty much at this point, every single person in the business knows that. Zach knows that. My kids know that. Like, everyone knows how I feel about my morning routine. This kind of goes back to, this is a small thing. This isn't like a way anyone's treating me badly or anything like that, but I'm just re-emphasizing real quick how relevant clear is kind, unclear is unkind is to every area of our life. And so if there's something you want to implement, just know the people in your life aren't mind readers. They're never going to know what's important to you if you don't tell them. So just be clear, like, be clear. Amanda feels attacked. Amanda does like to talk to me first thing in the morning, you guys. we think about each other at night apparently, and like, she's just got to call me. But no, Amanda appreciates that, like, I need that to be the healthiest emotional state, be in the healthiest emotional state that I can be, and like be who I need to be. And so because of that, we talk after lunch, you guys. And, you know, we know that Jordan doesn't want to talk on the phone at all. So we respect that, and we don't call her at all. We send her 5-minute long voice messages instead. So, you know, like, you got to stay what you want. But in all seriousness, no, I'm just kidding, kind of also serious. But in all seriousness, like, you've got to be clear with the people in your life about what you need. No one's going to know what you need if you don't tell them. If you feel really overwhelmed right now as a leader, ask yourself, have I put any clear boundaries? Have I taken the time to develop a good morning routine so I can, you know, be who I need to be? I know Jordan has a Sabbath that she's been doing. I've got my morning routines that I do every morning. Like, whatever you need to like feel in a good space, communicate that. People who love you and value and respect you, they're not going to be upset that you're setting some boundaries. Like, these kind of boundaries people respect so much. And so I just encourage you, like, really analyze, like, what do you need? Communicate that with the people that you're close to, whether it's your team, your spouse, your family. And then the bigger issues that we've talked about and really hit hard tonight, I just hope that you feel empowered after this Zoom to have those tough conversations. Make sure that you stand up for yourself. No one will ever stand up for yourself the way you will. And so stand up for yourself, and make sure that you're, you know, intentionally every single day making whatever change you need to make to be the best version of yourself, including in your relationships, including in your routines, you know, all of it. Any boundaries you need to set, when you set them, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to be that much more productive for that. So before we hop off, Amanda, Jordan, do you guys have any final words? No?
I wanted to share one more tip I thought about when Amanda was talking. For people, when you get started in the business, and laying those expectations and boundaries out for your family. Amanda briefly touched on that, and it just like jolted some thoughts for me. Anytime I have somebody come to me and say basically like, I need to stop this business, it's taking up too much of my life, it's taking away time for my kids, and my husband feels neglected, and yada, yada, yada. That tells me right there, they never set expectations or boundaries with their business and with their family. So that's one tip I wanted to give you guys. When I first got started, I remember maybe 2 weeks into the business, I had a 1-year-old and a husband, and Josh was like, are you gonna be on your phone like this all the time? And I was like, oh no. So I asked Brittany, I'm like, am I gonna be on my phone like this all the time? No, spoiler alert, you're not. There's a learning curve, and it takes a little bit extra time in the beginning just to get the hang of things. But that opened up that conversation for me to be able to share with him, this is something I really want to do. I'm having to put a little bit extra time right now because I want to learn, because I really want to do well with this. And then it's gonna, you know, it's gonna get easier from here. But you guys lay out those expectations with your family, with your spouse, like Brittany was saying too. Whether your spouse is supportive or whether they're not supportive, lay that out and just say, hey, this is something that means a lot to me that I want to do. Can you please be supportive of me in this? Like, do you trust me? Of course, they're going to trust you. Hopefully, they're your spouse. Then you say, okay, then please trust me that I can do this and be supportive of me. And set those boundaries with your time. Like, your day should not be spent all on your phone. If you're on your phone all the time like this and neglecting your relationships, that's on you, boo. You gotta set those boundaries. So set those work hours if you need to. And then when it's time for family time, put your phone down and be with your family and be with your kids, you know, whatever it is. Set those boundaries there so that you don't let them mesh together. Because if you do it early on in your business, that's going to help you in the long run. I know I'm still working on these areas a lot of times of like, my kids are coming up to me, pulling on me. I'm supposed to be with them. And I'm like, oh no, I got to put my phone down. Like, I'm not present right now. Be present in your business when it's business time, and be present with your family when it's family time, and set those expectations.
I love that so much, Jordan. And that's just such a good reminder. Like, don't let the day run you. Like, if you're taking control of your day, you're going to not feel that way. And so if you're feeling that way, just take a step back, be kind to yourself, and analyze, like, what could I do differently? What kind of boundaries do I need to set for myself? And then fix things. Don't beat yourself up for what you think you could have done better the last month. Just learn from it and then go forward and do better this month. That's all that we can do. I still am learning to improve things in my life and my routine. I know Jordan and Amanda are too. And so we don't have it all figured out, but what we have figured out is if we always are progressing, if we're always moving forward, if we're always just trying to learn and grow. One thing that someone said to me a couple months ago is they said, approach every situation with curiosity. they said if you approach it with any other emotion, like that's when you're likely to like see negativity. But when you approach things with curiosity, like what can I learn here? Like what can I take away from this? Then you're always going to find what you're looking for. If you're looking for a way to make things better, you're going to find a way to make it better. And so that goes with everything we've talked about tonight. And on that note, we will wrap up. I know we went a little bit over, but I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I will get this recording uploaded to YouTube soon, so you guys can share with your teams. And yeah, I look forward to hearing you guys' feedback. If you guys want to go to the original post in Fire Tribe and you guys want to share what your biggest takeaway was, I know the three of us would all love to read it. I hope you guys have a good night, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.